Hello, everybody. I hope you all can hear me. Let me make sure that we're, let's see, live at 5. Okay. Here we go. Can everybody hear me? I hope it's working. Let's see. Okay, good. Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope everything's going well. Today, we're going to have a live. The basic subject matter is about Suzanne Morphew. We are really concerned that justice will not prevail. I hate to say it, but with everything going on with Barry and his now lawsuit, it really has so many of us worried. So I wanted to bring on, well, actually I have a few wonderful guests today. I've got my friend Naomi. She goes by Seeds of Hope on YouTube. I'm going to bring on Gonzo, and then a little bit, like in 15, 20 minutes, we're going to bring on psychic Rev Donna. So that is going to be a fun lineup, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. So right now, how about I go ahead and, oh, wait, you know what? We're going to have to wait a minute. Let me see. I think somebody might be having technical difficulties. Just a minute. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start. And then as soon as they show up, we will. Hi, Z Storage. Hello. By the way, hello to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to my mods. I've got Rainy Joe, Hannibal, Titanican. Hopefully I said that right. And Cindy. Just awesome people. So I'm really grateful to have them be my wonderful mods today. Oh, actually, Donna is here. I see her showing up, but I'll bring her in a little bit. Hi, Donna. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and start. Just for those who maybe, let's say you're not familiar with the Suzanne Morphew case and you need to maybe get acquainted with it. How about that? So we're going to start with a video, and to give a little bit of context here to the site we're going to be talking about today. Oh, excuse me. So yes, one of my guests is having technical difficulties. Naomi is. So, okay, so we'll give it a minute. Anyway, so as far as Suzanne Morphew is concerned, she went missing. The official story is that she went missing on Mother's Day, but we know full well now that it was more than likely the day before, and possibly even the day before that. That's assuming somebody could fake communication with her boyfriend, Jeff Libler, which I don't know how feasible that is, honestly, but anything's possible in this day and age, I guess. But more than likely, she went missing on Saturday in the afternoon. We know from the arrest affidavit that Barry was doing his own thing until the early afternoon. He suddenly comes in, and it's like communication abruptly halts. And that right there would indicate to anybody what happened. She got Snapchats after that. She got messages from Jeff Libler. Nobody, she answered nobody because, well, I think we already know what had happened to her. So the official story, though, is that she went missing on Mother's Day. That's not altogether correct, because really she stopped communicating with anybody on that Saturday, May 9th. Now, later May. Okay, so around the time that Tyson Draper went to Salida, I think it was just a little bit shy of that, there was a site of interest. It's on County Road 105. It's the Vanderveer property. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that property, but if you followed this for any given amount of time, you probably remember. And that is where they went to the home, FBI, the ERT team, or ERT, they went there and they dug up concrete for like 2 or 3 days to no avail. They never found Suzanne. But Naomi's, Naomi and I, first of all, let me give you a little idea of how long we've known each other now. We started communicating just after the Suzanne Morphew case began. And we would usually send voice chats, through Facebook Messenger. And so that's really how our friendship started rolling. And so all the time we'd go back and forth about possibilities, you know, where it seems feasible that Suzanne could have been put by Barry. Now, at this location that I'm talking about, there is a, it actually backs up to the river. So we're talking the Arkansas River. And she thinks, based on the account of Morgan Gentile, that more than likely, it's possible he could have brought her body there, because Donna Serafina, Psychic Reverend Donna Serafina's reading, really, in a lot of ways, it could totally be describing that. But I will bring on Donna, because she's the expert, obviously. She knows what she saw more than I know what she saw, and she'll be able to kind of give us some insight. So let me go ahead and play this video here. This is going to talk about the concrete location, just so you get some eyes on, you know, what does the property kind of look like? Where does it face? Details like that. And I'm going to play that right now. Let me just pull this up. Oh, good. People are here. Okay. You know what? First, let me bring on Naomi. I'm going to introduce her, and then I'll play that video for you. Naomi! Hi. How are you? Good. It's nice to see. I saw you were having some technical difficulties there, sister.
Every time you download one thing, they need you to download 10 more. So
I know. It's a bummer, huh?
It's
now,
crazy.
Is Gonzo, I don't see Gonzo here yet. He's have you heard from him?
I was just chatting with him a second ago. He said he's gonna come in. So
okay. Super good.
Hopefully you got your link. I think you probably did.
Yes. Now, I was telling them a little bit about you and I. I want you to tell your version of, you know, how we really started to think it was the river location where she possibly, if you don't mind.
So, so it was you and I talking and trying to think about the possibilities and trying to figure out where we knew Barry had been, right? And where one of the most solid places we knew he had been and done some work is that Vanderveer job off of 105 and Vanderveer there. Right. And so I was trying to get Lauren Scharf to give me pictures and video of the job site, because one of the things that we had noticed was when we were watching the helicopter video of the FBI being at the property there where they were digging it up, was that there was a difference in the river and beach site where in between the satellite photo and the video.
Right.
Right. So, and then we deducted that Barry likely did that work because it was, the satellite photo was taken in the fall of 2019. So not too much earlier. And so I was trying to get Lauren Scharf to give me video
of that. You were so persistent. And then so good at this.
I couldn't figure out for the life of me why she wasn't giving it to me, because it just seemed so mundane. Right. And then she came out with that story of the beach area and Morgan's account of that Saturday and Friday. Yeah. And come to find out, it was that Friday and Saturday that Barry and Morgan worked that and built that in. So then it was like, okay, I need footage from the other side of the river so I can see what that looks like from the other perspective, because it was pretty limited what we could actually see. Yeah. And then I finally found that. And once I found that, it was like, oh my gosh, because those rocks jet out there, and you know, the way the water was coming over, it looked like a little waterfall, just like Donna had said.
Right.
And for my eye, being a landscaper previously who built those walls, the rock walls, the whole, let's see, if you're looking at it from the other side of the river, we'll say the right-hand side was totally wrong, right? So like part of it is right. And then it just looks like somebody just came and threw rock
It looks janky. Janky, right. In other words.
Super, super janky. Yeah. So it was like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
So then I told you to call Andy.
Yes, yes.
And you were like, he's never going to listen to me. And I was like, well, give me his number then, because he'll listen to me. So called Andy and tried to get him to get the CBI to go out there. And he said that he would rather wait until he was out there in case she was found there. He'd rather be there when that all happened. And then he convinced me to step way out of character and go to Salida and meet with them and go
for anybody who doesn't know, Andy Moorman, if you're new to this case, Andy Moorman was Suzanne's brother. So he was pretty much on a mission to find his sister, basically. And so there was a huge search that ends up happening. I'll let Naomi carry on. I just want to make sure everybody knows that was her brother. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I turned up in Salida on the 23rd and went straight to the hotel where everybody was staying and met with Andy and his group from Indiana. And he had like a couple of news interviews to do. I think Denver 7 with, is it Lance Hernandez? I think that's his name. So he did that. And then we went straight to the river spot. Yeah. Like we went County Road 102.
The first day, right? Right when you got in?
I mean, I had been in Denver the night before and then drove in from there. And I got there probably 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. And then we went, after Andy was all done doing his thing, we went straight to the river. We convoyed over County Road 102, which is the backside of the McGarry's house and the river right there, so that we could get a good view of that spot. And I ended up taking those pictures that I sent you of the house and the whole big broad view of the river there. And it was really, really, it was really weird.
I know, I bet. And
so at that point, what's that?
I said, we'll look at those pictures here in a few. I'm going to bring Gonzo on. Continue your thought, please. I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, so at that point, we saw the water was down and we saw, you know, the 3 big boulders and that there was a big indent under those boulders. And to me, it was obvious that someone had dug a hole there and then put those rocks on top. And I was just like floored because we couldn't see that obviously before because the water was rushing over it and you couldn't tell. But once we saw that, in my mind, it was over. So
I know, and you know what's weird? There's one photo, and we'll show it here in a moment, but it feels like the sunshine is beaming right down on this location where Suzanne potentially could be. Do you know the picture that I'm talking about?
Exactly. I believe I do. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll show it here in a few. Let me go ahead.
Was it one that I took or one that Andy took?
I'm not sure who took it, but it's among those that you sent to me. It's just like sunshine is going right to the spot, and it makes you wonder, okay, is this a sign? Is this where she is? It was wild. But how about we go ahead and bring Gonzo on?
Sweet.
Okay. Let's see. Gonzo, hello. How are you?
Hey, you guys hear me all right?
Yeah. You're great.
Sweet. I'm in my truck. I'm in my truck like always. So, yeah, it's kind of where I camp out.
Always in his truck. Unless he's on a mountain hanging off somewhere. So,
yeah. It's amazing what you do, Gonzo. I see these pictures and I'm like, wow, he does it all. Anything you can think of. By the way, I wanted to ask you, I was telling my husband about you this morning. And he likes the to fly paramotors. I don't know if I'm sure you know what those are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Amazing stuff.
Yeah. And we were thinking, like, man, maybe that would be helpful with him searching for people. I don't know. It came across our minds, and it was an interesting thought at the very least.
Oh, it's another tool. It's another avenue to look at, right? I mean, yes. Chaffee County's full of fun activities, and you might as well put them to good use, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you guys. Wow. Thank you guys so much. It's been awesome. I've been working with Naomi for quite a while, and it's just great to swing on and say hi to you guys. And thanks, Lauren. I appreciate the time.
Well, it's so nice to meet you.
A different ball game for me. So you guys are more used to this than I am. So.
I know, Naomi, you're so daring these days. You do it all now, sister.
She's coming along. She's coming along. I love it.
She is. And she's such an asset though, too. Like with the genetic genealogy, I feel like she is so passionate, and so are you, Gonzo. You guys are a dynamic team, and I know you're going to change the lives of many. Seriously.
Well, thank you. Yeah, she's so talented, with the awareness platforms, with the hard work behind the scenes, grinding out, like you said, the genealogy background, profiling, all of that. And then we can put boots on the ground to really help try to bring it home. It's a team effort all the way through. So I'm just excited to be here and help out. So
I can sit here and I can do what I do, but honestly, without the two of you guys, I wouldn't be doing anything really. So I'd just be sitting here twiddling my thumbs. But it's really beneficial to me to have the two of you to talk to and bounce ideas off of. And Gonzo, there's a million places sent him on wild goose chases.
It's good. We're checking boxes, right? We're checking
boxes. Right. Yes. I think there's a little what do you call sound coming from a little backfeed. Is that what you call it?
Okay, let me try to fix it real quick. I might have to jump out and come back in, but I'll catch you guys here in a minute.
Okay. And
because I don't know how to fix it in my truck unless you guys have an idea.
So do you have it going on another device, Gonzo?
I don't. Oh, maybe I do. Yeah, maybe I do.
If so, just mute whatever that one is.
I wonder if it sounds better now.
I think it does. It does. Yeah, I don't hear it. So.
Okay, cool.
I kind of hear it again.
Oh, yeah.
If not, I'll bail out and I'll come back in.
Okay, in the chat, is it real echoey? I see Rainy Joe telling me it's an echo. Is it still an echo? A little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit. So yeah, maybe Gonzo, if you want to try to exit and come back in, we'll see if that works.
No problem.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, in the meantime, Naomi, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this video just to show the property we're talking about, give it a little idea about the concrete, what happened, May 23rd, whatever it was. It was that weekend when they start digging.
I want to say they were there from the 21st to the 23rd, but that's just off the top of my head. So
I think you're right.
It could be wrong.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start so we can get this going with the videos. Okay, share screen. Okay, I think it's this one. Can you see it, Naomi?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, here we go.
An area in Chaffee County and start digging. They're searching for a woman who vanished on Mother's Day. Good evening, I'm Jim Benneman.
And I'm Kelly Worthman. Suzanne Morphew's husband, she said she vanished while on a bike ride. Well, now investigators are focused on an area 12 miles from the family's home. Our Rick Salinger has been there all day, just outside Salida. And Rick, you just heard from the sheriff.
Well, the Sheriff's Department issued a release, Kelly, and it said they are done for the day, but they are not done with this search. We've learned that it began after they received information that the body of Suzanne Morphew could have been buried in the dirt and then concrete poured over it. The search for Suzanne Morphew brought investigators to what appeared to be the site of a house under construction.
Well, I mean, it's been crazy all along. You know, we've been hearing lots, about it, and we've, all supported people going out and trying to find her.
FBI agents could be seen with buckets sifting through material. An evidence response team truck parked nearby. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the Chaffee County woman was reported missing while on a bicycle ride. As the search by the banks of the Arkansas River was conducted, authorities were tight-lipped. I'm Rick Salinger from
That's a really good picture of the beach area right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Morphew home outside Maysville has been sealed off under a search warrant. Suzanne's husband, Barry, has issued an emotional plea.
Please do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you.
Other searches have taken place in a reservoir.
Hold on. I'm going to pause it right on that. Hold on.
Channel 4.
Okay.
Shoot. Just a minute. Let me back it up here. There we go. Okay. So hopefully everybody can see. Just, it's not letting me zoom in anymore. Okay. So you can see here, right here, the concrete area, right? And how it just backs right up to this river spot location.
Yes.
This right here where my mouse is, that's the spot, we believe.
Yeah, you can actually see the white water coming up over the rocks right there. So that's that little white strip that goes out into the water. Yeah. That is the 3 rocks. That is the 3 big boulders. So
exactly. Okay, I'm going to finish this video and then we can kind of discuss it real quick.
On Channel 4.
Okay.
Can you
put it back here?
We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you.
Other searches have taken place in a reservoir and an RV park.
It's suspicious to me. I don't know exactly what happened, nor does anyone else, but hopefully they will find her and alive.
The Sheriff's Department has indicated, contrary to rumors, they have not located any body today and no one has been arrested. The search will continue tomorrow. Live near Salida, Rick Salinger.
Okay. So there we go. You saw the location. It seems perfectly feasible because he was working at that location on Friday, May 8th. Yeah. He was very, what's the word? He was very adamant to Morgan Gentile. Remember, what was he saying? Rake, 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 smooth,
flat,
smooth,
flat, flat.
Flat, flat, flat. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He was real obsessive, and he seemed out of character that day, according to her, from what I recall. So,
and what was it he said? He said he had been at a fire, got called out to a fire, but there was no fire.
Right.
But yeah,
another story, in other words.
But but the thing is we know now that wasn't that the night that he sent Suzanne that text message that he deleted about he was just going to kill himself or whatever. So my guess is they were up late and arguing and like it was just all a big mess.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense that it's possible because that really was the last job site that he was working at before she went missing. So it totally, kind of goes together in my mind. And also there is an interview real quick. I want to play just a couple parts of Morgan's that I think is important to hear for anybody who's maybe not familiar with Morgan, or let's say we're just doing a refresher here and it's been a while since you last, heard the story, right? So I'm going to show you that real quick. Let's see, share, stop screen. Video file, wrong one. All right, just a second. Stickers. Here it is. Good.
Reportedly, Suzanne's discarded bicycle was recovered.
Tonight, the Chaffee County Sheriff reaching out to Fox 21's Lauren Sharf, who reported this week official information has been hard, if not impossible, to obtain since the 49-year-old wife and mother of two was last seen.
Sheriff Speasy writing in part, quote, "I am sure this is frustrating for you. However, my focus is Suzanne and the integrity of our investigation." Still, people close to the Morphew family are speaking out.
One of those people
exactly.
gave Fox 21 News an exclusive interview. She's a contractor and says Suzanne's husband, Barry Morphew, hired her for a job in Broomfield the weekend Suzanne vanished.
Lauren, now you've talked to another worker. Why is this woman now speaking out?
Her name is Morgan Gentile, and during our 1.5-hour interview, she backed up claims made by Jeffrey Puckett. She says this case has broken up her family, forced her to relocate, and is keeping her from finding a job.
That's how I got treated through all this, is just like I'm the other woman, even though I'm not the other woman. I just happen to be a woman.
Morgan Gentile, a contractor hired by Barry Morphew, told Fox 21 News in an exclusive interview she's caught up in the Suzanne Morphew investigation and accused of having an affair with the missing woman's husband.
Just to set the record straight, for those that think you had a relationship with Barry, a sexual relationship, what would you tell people?
Well, I would tell them absolutely no.
Barry denied that accusation as well.
Everybody's out there saying, oh, he's got a girlfriend and he's having an affair. Where is it? There's nobody. There's never been another love in my life since 1988.
Gentile says claims made by contractor Jeffrey Puckett concerning a hotel room in Broomfield used by Barry are true.
We opened the door and I mean, like, the chlorine hit you and you're like, my eyes started watering and burning, and like the towels were like super wet on the floor, and it looked like he had like made the bed before he left, but it wasn't made by a hotel clerk.
And Gentile said she noticed other odd things that weekend.
And so Barry had started working that beach shop Friday evening, and Saturday when he picked me up, he had asked me to clean it up and break it out because we were going to add the bring it up to level, so that way it was a beach sand and not muck.
That area is a construction site off County Road 105 east of Salida.
No, it needs to be flat. And I was like, he was acting really weird about it, and I was like, Barry, like, what's up, you know? And he seemed like, I don't know, stressed. He definitely seemed weird on Saturday.
Investigators spent 3 days in that same area, a week later searching for any sign of Suzanne.
I was planning on working all day that day, but we only worked till 11. And he said that he had to go make the wife happy, do some hiking or biking. And I found out like later that day that he was in town all day.
Gentile said she'd heard Barry was shopping. She said there were plans to head to Broomfield.
We were originally supposed to go out there the end of April.
Original plans for that job only included her and Barry, but with a phone call, that changed.
Last minute, he changed everything. In fact, he called me that Sunday, Mother's Day, and was like really frantic, like really didn't sound like himself. Like I hung up the phone and thought he just had the worst night of his life.
Gentile says Barry asked her to get a crew together and drive to Broomfield. She picked up Puckett and headed that way to fix a retaining wall. Barry got there first and he called again.
Barry said that he had been up there all day, like getting the job ready for us. The work that I saw that he did up there wouldn't have taken him more than 30 minutes. So I was just like, what did you do up there? You know, like.
But he said he was leaving. There was a family emergency. Her crew didn't have the right equipment, although Barry had left some tools behind in a hotel cart.
Looked like Barry emptied out his truck bed is what it looked like all kinds of stuff that we didn't need to do a retaining wall with.
So they waited for further instruction. Gentile said Barry called crying Monday morning.
He says like Suzanne has gotten attacked, or a mountain lion has got her. We're heading up the mountain. We're gonna go find what we can. We're gonna go find her. You guys are gonna need to wait till 1 o'clock, or no, he said wait till 11 o'clock to get the brick.
The job was still on, but according to Gentile, the materials never arrived at the work site.
And I wasn't gonna bother Barry with these phone calls because, you know, his wife is missing, and I feel like this is a little problem compared to his problem.
Gentile said she and Puckett packed up on Tuesday and returned to Salida, and the investigation into Suzanne's disappearance was well underway. She remembers being approached by 2 men, a friend of Barry's and one of his family members who told her,
"We would give you your paycheck, but we don't want it to look like hush-hush money. And they're like, you have rights, but you don't have to give CBI your phone."
Gentile says she did cooperate with most of what investigators asked. She says she interviewed with them 5 times and turned over her phone, but she declined a polygraph.
I know my rights, and I was like, I don't have anything on.
Days later, she says she heard from Barry again through text.
She's a meth head too, just like Jeff. She's mad at me because I fired her and don't let her work for me anymore. She's mad. So they're not going to say anything good about me.
No, he fired me, I think, just because I gave up my phone and wasn't staying quiet. I was being compliant with CBI and them.
Gentile says the experience scared her.
I feel like if he was innocent, he would have talked to me, I worked with him every day for a long time. I feel like I'm scared of Barry. I ain't gonna lie. I don't want to see him ever again.
I am innocent, 100% innocent. And the social media and the news media has made it seem like I'm a bad guy.
Okay, so I want to say something. You're muted still, Lauren.
Yes, I know. I just saw.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I want to say something because I keep seeing it in the comments, and I want to make it clear that in my opinion,
hold on.
Back. That's not my opinion. That's fact. In my opinion, there is no way that Barry's skid steer Bobcat would have been able to dig into the river. He would have needed to use the Bobcat with the scoop or the big cat with the scoop that were on the Vanderveer job site. So for everybody saying that he used his Bobcat to put her in that river there, in my opinion, that's impossible. That Bobcat wouldn't have done that. There's a lot of things that a crazy person can do with a Bobcat. That's not one of them, especially with the shape that the hole was. That hole is like a hole. It's not a scooped out deal. So I just want to make that clear. And then the other one that I saw was from BZ Mama, that it seems weird to her that Morgan wouldn't have wanted to bother Barry at that time. That doesn't seem weird to me. Like, his wife is missing. She wants to get the job done, but Barry's got bigger and better things to worry about at that point in time. His wife is missing, right? Like, I don't think that's weird at all. So anyway, I just wanted to address those because those are 2 things that I saw through the comments.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and unmute. Let's see. Oh, hold on. I think we're having, oh, shoot. Just a minute.
Oh, no.
Okay. So there's a lot of backfeed on Gonzo again. Let me add it. Gonzo, how are you?
Do we still got the backfeed?
Yeah.
Just a little. Well, actually, a lot of. Shoot.
It might be where I'm at. I'm kind of in a bad spot.
Okay.
Let me try one more thing. I'll swing back in here in a bit. Sorry.
Sorry about that, Gonzo.
No problem. See you in a bit.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. How about we bring on Miss Donna? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add her right now. Donna, everybody, you know who Donna is.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, how are you doing, Naomi?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I think I don't know if Gonzo has tried putting in an earphone, but when there's
that might work. Yeah,
that's what he needs to do.
Good idea. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna make it so we can all see each other. Okay, so Donna, you have done so much work on the Suzanne Morphew case. I mean, she has done countless readings. Do you want to go ahead and talk about maybe some of the things you've seen that relate possibly to this location?
Sure. And with the disclaimer that obviously psychic visions are not included in court, and I'm not making an accusation or anything, but of what I was shown. I was shown this is premeditated murder. What the trigger for this murder was not the affair, that he had planned this ahead of time, that he had laid out pillows on his bed at a prior occasion to see estimate the length of Suzanne, and then to see if they would fit into the suitcase or duffel bag or container that he put her in. So it was premeditated. And when he took her out for dinner the night before, that was her last chance to acquiesce to doing things Barry's way. And that the actual cause for the murder was the amount of money she would be taking out of that relationship, and the fact that he considered her his property, so he's not going to let her leave with half of what he considers his money. And let's see, I think that's it for a minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. She was his property, and all he cared about was the money. And I think that's evident in him even saying stupid stuff, like in the arrest affidavit. Oh, well, you know, I'm real cheap and I'm a penny pincher, whatever he says throughout. You can tell his primary focus is on the Benjamins, the money.
Right.
And this was totally money motivated. Go ahead, Naomi.
So I just answered it in the chat, but I actually want to state this clearly. The FBI, the CBI, Chaffee County Sheriff's Department, nobody has dug these rocks out and moved them and searched this area. And that 100% needs to be done. 100%. So when we went there, we were going to speak directly to the McGearys and ask them for permission to do this. So I was there. I have experience building the walls. Somebody that came with Andy's team is a very, very talented and experienced equipment operator. He was willing to run the equipment to move those boulders, and we were going to take that wall apart, those boulders, and redo the wall, number one, properly, and look for Suzanne there. When we got there and I took those pictures, that night we went back to the hotel where everyone was like having dinner, the group of amazing people who were feeding us all. And I got a call from Chris McDonough asking me to go someplace private, and so we could have a chat. So I did that, of course, because Andy, you know, that's Andy's choice, Andy's contact there. When I did that, he asked me to send him the pictures that I had taken of the area a couple hours earlier. When I sent him those, he immediately posted them to Twitter and started a complete shitstorm, and then went to Web Sleuths and did a live stream about it too. So this whole chaos got started immediately over this river spot, right? Yes. And so then the McGearys were just totally off limits. It was totally out of base. It wasn't going to happen, right? And still to this day, this has not happened, and this needs to happen, especially right now with everything that's going on with the case and this lawsuit and whatever. They need to do this. They need to do their due diligence. Not just anybody can go on here and move these rocks and do this. It needs to be done.
Right. 100%.
So if you can see, zoom back in there, Lauren.
Yep. You can see how it kind of, there's a little
family bossing you around. So yeah, right there. There's the big sunken hole that I'm talking about under these boulders.
Let me move to the next too. I want to show you that picture I'm talking about where it seems like God is shining his light saying, look here.
Yeah, I want to see which one you're talking about.
Okay, hold on. Here it is. Look at this. It's like, hello, right there. Check it out. You know?
Yep. Okay, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Right there. Just
yeah.
Right across. It couldn't be more obvious too, you know?
So, and I just want to say, this half of the wall is like the crappiest rock wall I've ever seen.
He really is.
The other half of it is great.
Yeah, he's not real great at what he does.
But okay, that one shows the indent really, really well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Right there. That's where I think Suzanne is. And until someone digs this up and proves me wrong, I will believe it 100%.
Yeah.
That's where I think she is.
Yeah. And again, like Naomi was saying, and this is not to be rude or anything, but the fact is they would have been able to check out this spot, dig it up. The people were okay with it, right, Naomi, for the most part, until
we don't know if they were okay with it because we never got a chance to actually speak with them.
It was too much attention from Twitter, from Chris McDonough on Twitter and stuff. And that's no offense to him. It's just how it happened.
It's just how it happened. It is what it is. Look, I'm one of those people, like everything, absolutely everything happens and turns out exactly the way it should. And things happen when they should, right? So what, we all know that there was a lot of fear surrounding what Barry's actions would have been had Suzanne actually been found that weekend. And I'll stand by that forever. I'll stand by Donna's feeling. I'll stand by my feeling. I'll stand by everybody who I was with's feeling. Like it was definitely a vibe. So
I believe it. Real quick, Naomi, how many people were part of Andy's team? Just a little bit about that. Like when you were in Salida, what was his entourage like? How many people and stuff?
Oh, I never counted heads. Like, honestly, the whole thing was like so busy. Definitely well over a dozen people came with them, though, like all together from Indiana. So, and then of course we had camera crews following and it's like the whole 9 yards. So,
right. I still feel like, and I hate to say, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I feel like if Donna could have gone, honestly, Donna, I feel like you would have gotten a sense in the air, something, you know what I'm saying? Like the spirit realm would have guided you to where she possibly could be. I really believe your connection to spirit is that profound.
Absolutely. I'm sure it would have made a huge difference. And I absolutely would have got like tingles and this and feel led somewhere. And Andy Moorman did offer to buy me an airplane ticket. And there's been 2 other people who live in Salida who've offered to pay for me to go there. So I had caught COVID in February of 2020, and I didn't want to risk flying on a plane and catching it a second time because it did damage my lungs. But I mean, yeah, I felt like renting a camper and driving there and looking, because I do know, and through different readings, and some I haven't even uploaded, I see the same things. I do not see him specifically putting that remains anywhere, or, other than when I saw him put her knees up to her chest, tie around, and then put her in what was either a suitcase or a duffel bag or something. But after that, I don't see specifically what happens, but I do see they'll show me the same like 5 or 10 things that if I was there, I'd be like probably having full body chills when I was near. That's true.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, and I don't know if anybody caught this, but when on a side note, I recently started reading through the arrest affidavit of Barry Morphew for the second time. But this time I'm actually taping myself doing it. That way people who would like to listen, who don't have the time to read it themselves, can get on and do it. So I'm working on that now. But while reading through it a second time, there was something that struck me as so crazy, and maybe some already know about this who've really scoured it, but I think it's page 4 or 5 or 6, I can't remember exactly, on the arrest affidavit, where one of the special agents alerts to barefoot prints inside of the Bobcat. This is no BS. This is dead serious. I could actually find it if I had to right now. It was.
Plus, there was decomp on the seat, right? And then decomp on the trailer.
Yeah, there was.
3 dogs. Yeah, 3 dogs alerted to it.
Yeah.
And Donna, on
in my mind, there's only one reason for decomp to be on the seat of that Bobcat. Period.
Exactly. And the thing is Donna saw a very specific from her reading, the meditation reading. She sees a very specific. It's like a tilt, right, Donna?
Yeah.
Kind of.
So that was a feeling.
Oh,
so
it's a feeling. Okay.
In mediumship, sometimes I'll see things. Sometimes it'll be like I'm there. Sometimes it'll be feeling, and sometimes it'll be a mild wondering. So I didn't see a truck, and at the time I didn't even know he had a bobcat. And then what I told Andy in that first reading that's on my channel is it feels like when he dumps her body, he dumps it at an angle like that. It slides off the back of something. And that's when Andy said, well, he has a bobcat. And it's like, I don't know that it was a bobcat. And it could be that, you know, he backed up his truck to a landmine and shoved her off the back of his truck too. So that's my answer.
So I have a theory on that, actually, especially because the decomp was also picked up on the trailer.
Yes, the tilt trailer, like this, right?
And then, so we also got to go back to Donna's reading with Cassidy, where she picked up the Jeep, right?
Not the clip.
So, huh?
Do you want me to play it? Do you want me to play that clip, Naomi? And then you describe it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead and get that up. Which one is it? I think it's here.
Keep in mind, these are all just theories, right? They're not
theories.
This isn't like anything I'm calling fact. This is just possibilities that I think could have happened.
Yes, theorizing. Yeah,
period.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of people forget the fact that Barry also owned a tractor, a red tractor. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, tilt bed trailer. There's a lot of
things like a tractor and a Jeep can tow that trailer. Neither one of them have a GPS. Well, the tractor might, depending on the age of it. However, so Fred Porter's old Jeep that was tied to the Hermit of Arborville, it was his Jeep, and when he died, he left it to his son, who was Fred Porter's wife's brother, right? So somewhere there's an old Jeep.
Okay. And Fred Porter, Naomi, doesn't that tie back to the...
He's the owner of the Monarch Spur RV Park.
The RV park, yes. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me pull up this clip. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. Here we go.
I'm also seeing this kind of older type Jeep. And it's almost like one of these really old ones from like the 70s. It's I don't know that he has it or he doesn't have it, but it's kind of like one that it's kind of a rough older one. And I got even bigger chills. I got huge chills. So there's something about this. There's something about this area, and it's somehow related to this Jeep. The chills are just like really strong on my legs, super strong. So they had us looking at this old Jeep. That Jeep's for really some rough and tumble fun. Just always want to clear something, you know, for something so serious as this, and make sure that it's out. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing. I feel like I'm in front of his house, like right now, like in the area that is his. I don't know. It's technically called the driveway, maybe. But it's just like that front tarred over area of his house. I'm just in that area, and it just feels like. I must have a feeling of both vehicles there. That's why I just always keep wanting to clear it. But it's almost like I feel like his darker colored, you know, charcoal colored pickup truck or something was there. But then I also feel like then next to it, he's brought this old Jeep or whatever. And it's the funny thing is because I feel like the back or something is down or something on the pickup. Like, I don't know if he put her in there first, but then decided to put her in that older thing. I don't know the answer. I just, you know, I'm wondering because it's like, okay, now why am I seeing these two vehicles side by side? So, okay, I'll let it clear again.
Lauren, can you turn up the volume on that video? Because you can barely hear it.
I don't want to wonder if, like, he's sitting there deciding, which it feels like because it feels like I said this already, but I'm just saying the feeling again. It feels like he originally placed it in the black truck, but perhaps maybe he moved it to that other one. I'm not seeing him yet. I'm just seeing it's like pulled on down parallel with the black truck. And I don't want to say because I'm not seeing it. So I'll go into trance. But I mean, it kind of feels like he may have decided to, because it's like he's trying to fit it in there. It doesn't fit in there as well. But I think that he might be able to go on bumpier land with that Jeep thing. or without, you know, ripping it up or whatever, or caring about ripping it up or something.
And he took the battery out of his
know.
Ford, right?
And you know what? Say it could be the name.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And reset the system by doing that, right?
Right. But so what's the purpose of taking the battery out of the Ford? You use it for something else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my mind, he could have easily threw that battery in that Jeep and then used the Jeep for whatever he needed to use it for. So
and to clarify, it might not be Jeep brand, because a bunch of people wrote to me about it's just that type of vehicle that looks real rough and tumble. And a bunch of people wrote to me, and they said that a lot of these hunters have something they call them rock climbers, because they're just rough and tumble, fine if they roll over. They're made to really have high clearance, and you know,
like a Polaris type thing.
I don't know what Polaris is, but
like
it could be any brand, not necessarily Jeep. It's just a type of vehicle.
Yeah. So I think the thing that was most interesting to me about, and this, you can read all about this Jeep if you look at the Monarch Spur website, because it's linked in there. There's stories all over it about the Arborville and the Hermit of Arborville and that Jeep and their growing up and everything. So once the Hermit of Arborville died and left that Jeep to his son tore it apart multiple times, rebuilt it, drove it up and down the mountain, back and forth, like behind Barry's house. Like, that thing will go. They called it the Mountain Goat for a reason. You know? So the thing will go. And
those 70s models, those 70s, 60, 70 model Jeep Willys, they are mountain goats. They literally just eat and they climb straight up.
Yep, they're
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting.
So somehow that's related.
There's access. Yeah.
Right. Now, Donna, getting into this diagram that you saw, I've got one of your clips here. I've got it let me pull it up here in a second. But what is significant about this diagram? When you got the message from Spirit, it's like she's beneath this area. Can you explain what you feel about the diagram?
No, what they showed me, and it seemed to be geared for law enforcement, so hopefully they listened to it, that an overlooked diagram that was in Barry's truck that they saw and hopefully took is a very huge clue to solving the location of Suzanne. She could be nearby. It could have been a place he previously worked. Okay, so even after the clip you play, and I sent you the 2 photos, in another reading later, they actually showed me Barry drawing it and showing me specifically what it looked like. And then when I was like, interesting, they wrinkled up the paper and threw it in the garbage. And I was first wondering, is Barry frustrated? They drew it a second time. And I'm like watching them. And then the third time they did, and they ripped it off because they didn't get what they wanted yet. And they threw it away. And they drew it a third time for me. And then I thought, oh, they want me to draw this diagram. So there's the clip. And then from another reading later, they brought it up again. And that's what they showed me. So my rough, 5-minute thing as soon as I woke up from the trance. And the thing was to tell law enforcement, it was most likely in his console, most likely like if he had one of those contractor little metal clipboards somewhere in there or around there. That is a key to the location of Suzanne's body. So I'm not saying she was underneath it.
Okay. It's just significant. It has significance.
It's a significant clue.
Okay.
So another point that I just thought of, because somebody, the Martin asked, did Barry dig a deep hole in the river on Friday night and bury her on Saturday night? So one of the things that did come out from Lauren Scharf was that the Mary Bronson, the neighbor next door to the McGeary property, had heard in the middle of the night in the weekend, which we believe was Saturday night, heavy equipment running, right? So it, in my mind, like it wouldn't have taken, if Barry had her all set and ready to go, I guess, for lack of a better terminology, he could have easily just been there for, 10, 15 minutes, dug a hole with one of the two scoopers that were there and put her in, and then put the rocks over the top of it and been in and out of there super quick. Right. What's that, Gonzo?
You're saying like proper prep time and everything.
Yeah. So if you would have dug that Friday night with the water rushing the way it was, it would have just been full again. It wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Right. So
he did have a lot of different extensions for all of his equipment. He had an auger blade. He had a bucket. He had forks. He had a lot of different things at his disposal right there at 105 Vanderveer. He also had more equipment parked right across the street in the rock quarry. That's where they would dig up all those foundations for all those homes right there.
Right.
They would crush them. So we've chased the theory across the road that possibly he had a shallow grave dug there. It was just a temporary hub spot. But yeah, we went down that road as well. But yeah, you're right on the prep time, prep. It's just like a, good carpenter or something like that. Measure twice, cut once, right?
Yeah, you get it all ready to go, and then you're there.
Yeah.
And you've been to that 105 job site multiple times, right, Gonzo? Like you've been in it. You want to tell us about that? And like,
yeah, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've probably been there 15, 20 times. I've talked to Mary Branson, the neighbor. I kind of gave her space early on just because she was kind of overwhelmed with the situation at hand. And I've met the McGearys. Well, I'm working on, between me and Naomi, we're working on trying to get access to get back over there. And I've been over there when it was really early on in this thing, and it probably wasn't the time to be snooping around and doing a lot of recon over there. But those rocks, the way that, Morgan had to lay the proper, or the dirt and the sand real flat, the way those rocks come around the edge, it's all interesting. I've been out into the water across the river as well, because there was theories about possibly a trailer backing into the middle of the river. So we had to tamp the tamping rods out into the middle of the river looking for something hard. It's pretty shallow, but very interesting property. We've covered it maybe 15, 20 times, hours of work right there.
And Andy did have the dogs out there, and those dogs did hit on, everybody is kind of really critical of whether those dogs actually hit on that spot or not. But there were dogs there, and they did hit on something.
They can hit on tooling. They can hit on anything that might have passed over there on the way out of town that morning. Right. So yeah, it's been something we've looked into. Always had that sidebarred and noted, about the cadaver hits right there. My big thing early on was who pulled the credentials on the cadaver dogs. I just always thought that was crazy, because you never hear that. You hear of dogs coming out, but I want to see paperwork on these dogs.
Yeah.
Just interesting things to think about.
For sure. So one of the other things that was key, I think, was those dogs weren't Colorado dogs, and I think that is also really crucial because the altitude changes their sniffers too, right? So I think that was another one of the super crucial points on whether or not those dogs were actually viable to be there in those locations. Not that they're bad dogs or anything, or mistrained or anything of that sort, but just literally, so Colorado and high altitude specific, they have to be trained in those areas specifically.
Right.
So,
there's a logistical problem there too. Sorry.
Please go.
When you bring cadaver dogs into a case and they're across state lines, there's, and I don't know exactly the inner workings of this, but you almost have to have credentialed dogs from the state to let it go to a courtroom like, and I don't know the lingo there, but
and they have to be invited by law enforcement.
True.
That if they're not invited by law enforcement, it's basically like the biggest faux pas in Santa.
You better find something if you brought them. That's all I can say. So,
but yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it, and I actually talked to a lady. She's actually really cool. She lives in the state of Oregon now, but she was like the first female park ranger in the state of Colorado, and she actually started their search and rescue dog program. So she's really cool, and she was a really good resource for me to speak to and kind of get a better understanding of like what the deal was. So that's, if anybody's curious as to like where I get my info, that's where I got that info. So.
Well, you know what really burns my, butt is the fact that they're saying they didn't find any DNA of Suzanne's in that bobcat, in that tilt trailer, but yet there's the smell of decomp. Like, what does this mean? Does this, in my mind, it means he must have put her in something so that her DNA never exchanged surfaces, right? Like,
well, not only that, but so in order for the bobcat seat, like for instance, for the bobcat seat to have decomp that was able to be picked up by the dog,
yes,
Barry was messing with a deceased Suzanne,
yes,
and then got in the seat of that bobcat,
yes,
in my opinion. So the trailer is a different story because whatever she was in, he could have just set on there and it could have picked up, right? Mm-hmm. But for the seat of the bobcat, I think is a whole different ball game for me. That to me, that's very, very, very telling. Obviously I'm no forensics expert or anything by any means, but
right. But we're all looking at this going, what is next? Is Barry going to get off of this? Like, I am so concerned.
We need to find Suzanne.
Yeah.
Period. Because
bottom line,
it's a really scary, slippery slope right now. And without finding Suzanne, in my opinion, Barry's going to go free and he's going to win a whole lot of money. So.
Yes, he is, because now he's suing. Oh, God.
Yep.
We saw that. I think the dice was loaded from the start there.
100%.
And I think we can all agree on that. So
100%.
So yes, it's paramount. We got to find Suzanne because a lot of things.
No.
There's been a really big jump to a lot of conclusions with no big conclusion. Like, we got to get there, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, we need to quit messing around. We need to find Suzanne. We need to take her home to Indiana, and we need to be able to make sure that the person responsible spends the rest of their life in prison. Period.
Absolutely.
Those DNA hits.
Right. That's something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So that's really telling.
Where did it come from? Did he, did Barry set some guy, a few guys, right? Wasn't it a few? Isn't it 3 hits? 3 different.
So like I was telling you yesterday, someone's DNA transfer on all of those items, there was no blood evidence whatsoever, right? So the DNA transfer has to be hands. The only way to get somebody's DNA transferred from your hands is for you to be there and doing it. Period. Right? So did Barry hire somebody? Did Barry have somebody come in and help him clean up? Like, I don't know what the deal is, but we need to figure it out. And whoever that is has lawyered up. But in my opinion, that doesn't matter. Take him in and question him with his lawyer present. I don't give a rip. Like, figure it out, because that guy holds the key to wherever Suzanne's at or whatever happened to her. Period. So who had ties to Arizona? Let's figure that out.
Right. And they were looking.
We've been working on that.
We have. Yeah.
Right.
So we need to figure that out. But more importantly than any of this other stuff, we need to do the due diligence and look at these places that are viable for Suzanne. And also, so there's another spot of rock that Barry laid out, and I can't tell you exactly when he did that, but that's at Puma Pass, right? That's right behind their house. That's in the river right there. It's right? So there two spots Barry could have done this. Very same thing in my mind. Highly possible, highly feasible. Period.
Yeah, and that's in that spot that you were just talking about at Puma Path.
Ozzy, yes, I do. She's very well known. I'm not going to name her on here, but everybody knows who she is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that spot I was actually at the day that Shoshona got arrested.
Really?
Right there. I was there.
Wow.
I may or may not have a different arrangement than Shoshona to be on the property. I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay.
Or I'm lucky. But
yeah,
it is definitely something we've been working on.
Yeah.
What happened, and I don't want to get into that too much, but what happened there really set a precedence on what going forward on that property is going to look like in an investigative, mindset, because we can't touch it now, and the Cushman property, of course, because we know what's going on there. So we are up against the wall here on properties that are really important to check.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the equipment at the time to do the ground penetrating work that we needed. And that's
working on that though.
Yes.
So I just saw a question, and Justina Zink says partial DNA, which means it's a relative of the sexual predator. If someone knows the name, please let me know and I'll use my resources for family history. I'm with you 100%, right? If I had a name, if I had any sort of any inkling other than the guy lives in Prescott, Arizona, which seriously, if anybody gets that info, send it to me because I will work the hell out of it.
Yes.
That's what I do. Like literally,
that
that's
is
my
what she does.
specialty.
Seriously, she's amazing.
I don't need someone's DNA to do that. There's ways to get around that and try and link people to known DNA matches. Yeah. So obviously having someone's DNA to work with is a whole lot easier. So the cops really need to have Parabon on this and be working it like a pro.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say about that. But yes, 100%, 100%. So
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Would it be possible to just pull up the two screenshots I sent you? They're in my community section anyway. The one with the diagram that they had me draw.
Yes.
And the one with the thing that turns water off and on.
Right. The drain, what's it called? Drain valve cover? Is that what that is?
I want Gonzo's opinion.
Okay.
I think I've been sent that before.
Well, I'd like also people in the audience to see in case they know what it is.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so something that looks similar. Okay, but they might not have the thing, the rectangle part might not be part of it. The spirit people were just showing me of how to draw it. So they put that rectangle there and then they drew it. So I don't, and we don't know exactly what that is. If that could be something from a mine or if it could be something like, say, at Foosa's Dam. And then the other one, you don't need, it was similar, but then, the water valve thing, the big water valve thing.
Is this it, Donna?
Yeah. And when a couple of these psychic friends or whatever, they drove there, put up some videos lately, and I saw that at Foosa's Bay. But Gonzo, I'm wondering, do you see that everywhere? Do you see that like at Barry's Puma Path? Do you see that at that house with the retaining wall, the water wall? Do you see that in other places?
Okay, yeah. So absolutely. So upstream from Barry's all the way up closer to Monarch Ski Lodge, you got an upstream retention pond, and it's got 5 or 6 of those valves, and then they've got the water valve underneath because the water drops out, and then they pipe it out to 2 different directions. There's a pipeline that runs on the backside of it runs parallel to Highway 50, and it runs all the way down to Maysville, like to Francis Box House. We'll just say all the way down to the town of Maysville.
Isn't there something like that up at Foosa's Dam too, Gons?
Oh yeah, yeah. The gals they got a couple different valves up there. I've got a couple different valves.
I was also going to say, JoJo Ballistic has been looking for that for like a year.
We chased those valves all the way to Idaho Springs, all the way down to Highway 285 for 3 hours in each direction, stopping, jumping over every hillside. You know, just going through the scenarios, going through the paces, but there's a valve on a dead stop, on a spigot, on a valve to drain more water, like everywhere in that county. And up on Monarch from Maysville all the way up to the Garfield mine, there's a valve to shut off, to stop, to slow the water every which way.
There would also be another one down towards Monarch Spur RV Park, right? Because there's that other catch pond right there.
There's the we call that the lower catch pond, and there is 2 or 3 valves like that there. They do stop the water. That would be, it kind of puts everything to rest that she was ever in the water, the creek side going down parallel to 50.
Right.
Because something would have broke apart and landed in the bottom retention pond. It's a retention pond for a reason.
In one of them, either direction it would have. Yeah.
And that creek, people forget, it doesn't just go parallel to 50 and work with it. It actually forks off, snakes off in a bunch of different directions. And right now the water looks a lot different than it did in May. And then, so we've been kind of monitoring water levels, what was exposed that time. There was even valves in different pipeline going all the way up to the mine shafts above the backside of Barry's property. There's several old gold mines in there, and we've been in a few of them. There's probably 30 of them, but yeah, we've been in a few of them that you can access and a couple that you shouldn't access.
Right.
But, there's a valve everywhere, and it's just so hard to say, you know, and you don't know the structure and how they want to flow the water because you're just not privy to that. But
yes,
those girls did a great job out there. So we work with them as well. We got a nice little team here that really.
I'm gonna mute for just a minute.
Yeah, sure. Gonzo, have you read through the? I'm assuming you have, but have you read through the arrest affidavit yet?
Yes, I have. And I also had another guy break it down for me because I wanted to see it from my perspective. I wanted to get it to a really trusted colleague's perspective and just kind of mix and match. You see something that I might not see and vice versa, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like I mentioned, going through it a second time, I can't believe what I'm seeing what I'm hearing and seeing that I didn't see before. It's unbelievable.
There's a ton to this. And for everything that everybody's heard or seen, I'm telling you right now, there is so much you don't know at all. Like, period. And I'm not here to say that I know it all or Gonzo knows it all or Lauren knows it all. But each and every one of us has heard a million things that nobody else has heard and seen. So, and then I'm sure that we don't even have close to all of it, right? There's still people I haven't been able to speak to that I really want to speak to. There's just a million things to this, and there's so many places left to go. But I think the most important thing is for the people in power who have the power to do this, because, you know, Gonzo and I, we can't go get a warrant to go move some rocks in a river, right? Only certain people can do that, and they need to do it. Like the fact that they haven't done it is so beyond me at this point. It seems so simple. It would take them like a half a day to get it done and over with. Just do it.
Right.
Just do it.
Right.
It's, you know, just to what we were just talking about, Lauren, is like when you go through this affidavit and you're looking at it on paper and it's black and white and it's dated and timestamped, it's a totally different trip when you're seeing it and then you're walking it at the same time and you're like, well, that's exactly what that looks like. And then you have to, you got to go back through and you got to just like kind of defrag your hard drive on what you thought you know, and you got to go to what you know today and what's a fact. It's just crazy. And like I said, we've reached out to a lot of locals, from you know, some really powerful people in Salida, Maysville area that are willing to help. We just really got to get them on board because the clock is ticking. We know that we have to find something because this could go really sideways real quick.
Real quick.
I know. Naomi, question for you. Maybe you can share, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with sharing, but you know, I feel like you know everything about everybody. Honestly.
Not even close.
So much.
Not even close.
I feel like you do. Would you mind telling everybody what you do know about Shoshana that's alarming? Anything that you can think of. What makes her suspect being with Barry? When do you think this relationship began? Whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
I have good reason to believe that her and Barry likely knew each other before Suzanne passed. I know that she used to be engaged to someone who threw himself in
to the mix
in a very weird way, in my opinion, who I have heard multiple different stories from.
And specify when you say threw themselves into the mix, this person
walked out and put himself on camera.
Right.
He walked out of his house and put himself on camera.
And is an, you know, he's an avid, he's a local from way back, well, decently way back, and doesn't know where Fusis is.
Right.
I thought that was strange. I've always.
Wait, did he tell you he didn't know where Fusis was?
Yeah, well, nowadays he knows where Fusis is because of all the hoopla, right? That we drug him into. But at first he didn't know where Fusis was.
Because, okay, we're going to have another conversation, guys. So he's a witness that put himself at Fusis Sunday morning.
Right.
Right. So for him to say he doesn't know where Fusis is when that was a regular bike ride that he took because he lives 2.3 miles away from the Puma Path House is even, you know, additionally suspect.
In his defense, he didn't know who he was talking to a few times. Right.
That doesn't shock me at all.
he very well could have thought he was talking to just random strangers that are just, you know, out doing nosy.
Well, the other thing is like at one point his girlfriend was the one that told him that Suzanne went missing, and his girlfriend was Shoshana at the time. And then at another point it was his brother that told him that. You know, there's been a couple of different versions and a couple of different very suspicious interactions that I personally have had with him and that I have listened to. And then, you know, when you ask him what he said in the original interview, he says he has to go watch the original interview to be able to tell you that.
That speaks a lot. That says a lot to me, you know, and with that guy, like you said it best. He injected himself into the scene. Now we're just holding him there. We're not. You know,
look, you know, and then at one point in time, he told me that 100% a car that we had sent him a picture of was definitely the car that he saw up at Fusis that day, which actually wasn't even possible because that car had never been out of that area. And that was like totally northeast or northwest Colorado there. So, you know, it's quite a distance. It's at least a 4-hour drive.
It's one of the oldest tricks in the book is you go, if you're going to be talking to these people or anybody for that matter that might have some info or some good nutrition on a case, if you ask them once, you want to ask them again. And you want to do it again and then again in the same way and see if that parallel. Like if it doesn't, you start getting wonky answers here and there that don't line up from the first, second, or third time.
Right.
You really just got to keep, you know, hammering on it at that point.
Yeah. So Spirit Seeker, just real quick, I'll totally check out your videos. Remind me, and I'll
remind you.
Find find the link to it. I've been to Alexandria and Anderson. That was pretty cool.
You should tell them about your journey. Tell them about your journey, Naomi, if you want.
Oh, I don't want to get into all that, but okay. I've been to Indiana, and one of the most interesting places for me out there was Mounds Park. That's really interesting. I definitely want to go back there and with someone, because girls traipsing around in the woods is exactly why I do what I do. So I want to go with someone so I can hike around a whole lot more. But that place was really interesting and definitely weird to be at. I'll say that. Yeah. But I did go around Alexandria and Anderson, and I took a look at all the key spots. I went to Suzanne's childhood home and like Barry and Suzanne's house. And
that's so cool.
Alexandria is a beautiful little
it's a cool spot.
And people are so nice, the sweetest people. I was so stoked when she went. I mean, and when I was there, she was on the phone with me. So it was really cool. Like, just to know that sweet people are out there and they really want answers over there. So
yeah. You know, and that's, you know, I still talk to a couple of people from back there too, and everybody definitely wants answers, whether or not they're actually saying it publicly or not. So it's great to see, and it's great to see the support. It's great to see the love, really. Like, one of the most important things to me is to spread love and to spread hope and to help families bring their missing loved ones home.
So important.
That's the whole purpose of what I do. So I know that's Gonzo's purpose too. So
it's all about.
Good to be teamed up with a guy like him when it comes down to things like that, for sure. So
absolutely. I know. I wanted to say real quick that it's a shame that Suzanne's I'm just going to say it. Sorry. I know it might offend some, but to me, it's a shame that her daughters weren't out there advocating for her. But I understand the grip of a narcissistic man on a household and on a dynamic. And so it makes sense why they didn't so much, call out for their mom or reach out and advocate for finding her.
We definitely had this conversation from the beginning, Lauren, and you know that I share that. I understand the dynamic very well. It's something I grew up with. If you have an abusive, narcissistic parent, pixie choosy insides is par for the course.
I gotta see it. I gotta see that dynamic firsthand with being in Salida and around the players quite a bit, and I've got to meet Shoshona, and I've got to meet Mallory and a couple times. I won't get into great detail, but just feeling her vibe, not in the courtroom, but at the house. She actually invited me in on one occasion, and she didn't really know. She thought I was somebody else, that I was out helping to do something with the condo. But it was just really wild to have a conversation and just really look into somebody's eyes, and I could feel pain. I could feel loss.
Right.
I'm not intuitive by any means, but I feel like I tap into that energy because I just hold it. It's important to me to know how someone's feeling or what the energy of the situation was. And, and the same thing with Shosho, like, I've ran into her a couple times, and she's trying to pierce through these thick glasses and trying to just my soul. And I'm going, whoa, this woman.
Oh, FYI, I'll give you this, and then I got to dip out because it's going to get really loud here in a minute. Shosho got some balls. Got some balls. Big balls.
Man.
She knew exactly who Gonzo was. She sent Mallory home, and she dipped right back and met him face to face and started asking him questions. So
Mallory circled around to tell Barry I was back. And Shosho was just really trying to get a good beat interviewing me as much as I was just talking to her about you know, the weather, the landscape of it. She knew who I was. I knew that she knew that I knew that she knew.
Yeah.
It was just one other, you know, that's just all I wanted to bring up about that. And we are working that. I think Naomi's on top of that, where, you know, we understand who Shoshona was with before. We know the timeline of where she worked, kind of what brought her to the Morphew, you know, what introduced her to Barry and how she got
put her in direct proximity and made it extremely viable for her to know Barry ahead of time, for sure.
And everything goes into a timeline at that point in time. It's not just, it's just a fact of where, when, how, and who. And then it's in a time breakdown of, okay, when.
Yep.
Now that helps us a lot, you know, and that's why we don't go out saying a whole lot of things, just because we know a little bit more than what we say online, because you never know who's watching. So,
all right. So I hate to do this right now because it's actually a great conversation, but seriously, there's like 12 people here now.
That's okay.
Stuff out, so I gotta go because it's just going to be way too long.
Okay.
So
we'll let you go. Okay.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We should definitely do this again soon.
Naomi, so good to see you.
Gonzo, Donna, you both rock. Have a great one. I'll see you next time for sure.
Fantastic. If
Thanks,
you guys want to stick around with me just for, let's say, 10 minutes, let's try to answer some of these. We'll start taking questions now if you guys are good with that.
Oh yeah, I'm doing well. I am.
Okay. Awesome. Are you cool to stick around a little bit, Gonzo, and take some questions with me?
Yeah, I got a few minutes here.
Okay, cool. We'll probably do 10 and then we'll wrap it up. That sounds fine for me. Okay, anybody have some questions that you would like answered? We are ready and able. So
I know there were some questions earlier, but I already forgot what they were.
I'll scroll through. Let me see if I can find some.
I can't see the chat, so I'm just winging it.
Someone asked if in any of my readings I said that I saw Barry with a different woman, and I did, but I don't think I uploaded that reading, and I wasn't sure, and I didn't in any other. I don't think, based on my own readings, I don't think sex with other people had anything to do with Suzanne's murder, and I think it's one thing for the prosecutor's office to show that, which they should, but they need to really hone in on dollar for dollar what would have happened to Barry's financial situation if Suzanne left. Because the fight where he put something down he wanted her to sign, and then remember they said there was financial papers on the kitchen counter, and I told you that fight started right at some kind of breakfast bar.
Yes.
So Lauren's the one who found all the photos that were in my reading and sent them to me.
Yeah.
The prosecution really needs to hone in on that a whole lot more.
I think so. And as I was reading through that affidavit, they did talk about what was it? It was a laptop and a stack of papers right there on the breakfast bar area. Do you recall that too, Gonzo? It's like page 4, 5, 6, something like that. It's hard to remember, actually, because it's all sort of a blur in my mind. It all goes together, you know, so it's hard to figure out which part it is.
That's why I love teaming up where we can all just kind of cover bases, because you're going to see something I don't see right now, and I'm going to highlight something that you might have just walked right by twice.
So true. Yeah, it's very important. Now we have a question. It's from Leah, sorry. Do we know by Donna about how far from the home she is located? And Donna, you want to just hit on that one?
I should get my pendulum out. In my readings, I was shown so clearly the murder. I mean, the whole fight, the whole chase through the house, which has now been confirmed. And I was shown very clearly him tying her up with her knees to her chest and putting her in a container of some sort. After that, the only other thing I saw when I did the reading with Cassidy was this old Jeep style, rock climber style vehicle next to the car. I did not see where he put the body, but what I did see in reading after reading after reading was the same things. I keep seeing the same exact things. Like I'll see these rocks that kind of go sideways. And there's just like maybe 10 things in on every reading, because a person who lives in Salida wanted me to do repeat readings. We've done a bunch of readings I didn't upload because essentially they show me the same thing every time, but it's like the same 10 things. Like there, and I was like, okay, here's this, 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 and this, you know. So I don't think it's all that far. I mean, if you drew a radius from up above the fire camp, like a huge circle around his house, you know, I don't know how many miles that is, or to the Garfield mine there.
Right.
You know, somewhere in this whole area. I don't think he dropped her off halfway to Denver. No.
I don't.
That's about a 10-mile radius from the bottom end all the way up to the top. If you're looking at, you know, both sides of the creek. But I mean, really, that's honed in pretty tight for the grand scape, or you know, for the grand scheme of how Chaffee County's laid out. So that's pretty tight.
Right. And I worked with a lot of the reading I did with Cassidy. The first reading I did with him is kind of like a cross between a reading and a conversation, because I had done several readings already, and it was the search, and I knew that Cassidy was the closest to Barry as far as being able to confirm what some of these things were. So I think that reading is extremely important because it gives a really kind of into Barry's mind by someone who worked with him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he felt, now I think Cassidy believed that Barry was too smart to put Suzanne's remains where he works because that would tie back to him. So that, you know, I don't know if which is which, but that was Cassidy's feeling about it. But then when I told him about that tree, you know, the weird tree, Cassidy said, "Oh my God, he just put one of those in at the end of his driveway," and remember his truck was parked there for 5 hours, and Cassidy said he owns an auger that can dig a 4-foot hole, 4 foot wide and 4 feet deep hole in just minutes, like super fast. So I really don't know where her body is. I just know I see the same things every time we try to go there.
That auger is actually what put those gates, those auto gates, into the front of that property, and then the gate property going down into where that crazy little tree was. But yeah, it's there's a lot there. There's so much to unpack there.
There is tons. We could be here for days just talking about this craziness, I swear. Now, here's another question. Does anyone know what Shoshana drives? I assume you might, Gonzo. Do you happen to know that, the answer?
Well, yeah. And I can't remember the make and model of what she has now. She's got a little SUV.
Okay.
And she had a different vehicle at this time as well, at the time that Suzanne went missing. So that's what you really should know right there. Take a note about that.
She got rid of her vehicle and then she got a new one.
Yep. So she's got a new one since this all happened. But yeah, it's in several videos. It's on one of Matt Black's videos. It's kind of out there. You'll see it. I think I have it in a couple of my videos. Most of those photos of that came from like us, and then we kicked them out to different creators to kind of get the awareness out. But yeah.
And about Shoshana, the information that I have, like, you know, you could verify it yourself. I have not verified it, but that she was working for the people where Barry is currently staying, where conveniently his ankle bracelet doesn't always have reception. Wow, you know, and then she was before working. So one, I had heard that Suzanne had hired her to clean the house. So those people generally across the street or whatever, where Barry's staying, that Shoshana is working for them as well. And that he very well may have met Barry through them, or, you know, even they share a big common dumpster from what I understand. And she could have met them there. She could have met their friends of Barry's. She could have met them over there. So we really don't know how long that relationship started, but she was engaged to the guy that lives near where you turn up to go to the firehouse, right? And she broke it off to go out. I think she's a whore. I hate her. I do not like Shoshana at all.
Like it is.
And I'm sorry. I'm glad she got arrested. I think she's a horrible person. I think
she's
she
weird
totally
too.
knows that Barry murdered his wife. And the only question for me is, did she know ahead of time? I do not like her.
I know.
Well, how deep was she in to go down some of these deep paths with, with what she's doing now? And I've saw it, firsthand, and I've heard, and I know the story with, the guy she was with and how long that was going on and how that went down as well. And there's a very big backstory to that. A lot of people don't know. It's coming out. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's like through Suzanne, like from the emphasis of Suzanne. Sometimes I'm like, is it because Suzanne hates her, or do I really hate this woman I never met so much?
She's not very fun, I'll tell you that much.
I bet.
She got arrested. I was bad.
Right. I'm hoping for the day where Barry does his womanizing little routine and pisses her off so bad that she just rats him out for everything she knows. Honestly, I'm really hoping for that day to come because I think she knows a lot. Yeah.
Right now, I think she's got her eyes on the money. Barry's money.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. I personally think she's a whore.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Tell it like it is, sister. Tell it like it is.
I hate her. What kind of woman starts going out with a man who obviously murdered his wife?
Exactly.
And when did she start? Did she start when his wife was dying of cancer? Like, I can't stand this woman. I hope she goes to prison right along with Barry.
We're pretty well sure that it was loaded a lot before.
Yeah.
Way before Suzanne went missing. And that's what we're trying to tie back together. And that's what we've been really working on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I had heard rumors about that from the beginning from people in Salida, but it was just unconfirmed. So I can't say it is. But there's a lot of questions around her. And I absolutely 100% believe she knows that Barry murdered his wife and she doesn't care because she wants the money. That's my personal opinion.
Absolutely. And remember in the courtroom, it came out that hold on, what was I going to say? Oh no, it almost vanished from my mind. It was something about, oh my gosh. Can you believe when that happens? You're like so ready to say it. What the heck was it?
Something happened in court?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I remember. Thank goodness. Okay. So it came out in the courtroom. All the times Barry would put his phone on airplane mode, right? It was to avoid Suzanne seeing his whereabouts. Well, what if that whole time when he would do that, because it sounds like he did it almost every day and Suzanne was catching on to it. What if he was with Shoshana that whole time and really this relationship does go back an entire year prior? I think it's perfectly possible and feasible.
Well,
and you know what? Cassidy told me that Barry before told him that he's only good for two things, which is having sex and making money. And Barry has a long history of cheating.
Yes,
I can verify that exact conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's super wild. And being on the volunteer fire department, when your phone goes off at random hours of the night, you just take it and you run and you say, "Hey, I gotta go. We got a jam. Something's going on." A lot of these spouses are not gonna secondhand. They're not gonna. Hey, where are you going? Why? I mean, hey, the job calls at 3 a.m. Odd hours, things like that. It just. I think it's been going on a long time, and that's something we've been really working on for quite a while now, and I'm saying over 6 months.
To try to get the proof. So their common denominator is the place we're currently staying now. Do you know their name?
Yeah.
Across the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she used to work for them. If she doesn't anymore, she used to work for them at that time. And Barry is their friend. That's the common denominator, how they would have met.
It's amazing what you find out and what you learn in Salida and Maysville and some of these smaller towns by just being respectful, just going in with tact and just being a really personable, like approachable person that's not wearing a badge, not shoving a camera in everybody's face, just respect and approach with complete just humility and for people. And I've gotten more things done on this case and several other ones by just taking that approach than just going out there and throwing something out in a camera and making a big mess and then getting on everybody's live stream and telling them this, that, and the other. We keep it really tight, and it's been working.
It works for you.
But it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to add, and I saw this in the affidavit, that Suzanne told Sheila Oliver all along she believed that Barry was cheating on her back when they lived in Indiana. And I've told my subscribers this before, and I don't know if maybe you guys know this story as well, but there was a person that contacted me, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and he lives in Arcadia, Indiana, where Suzanne and Barry had a home, right, on Cal Carson Drive, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And Barry was cheating on her with a woman who is now deceased. They had been carrying on for at least, I want to say, 2 years. Donna, did you know this? Did I tell you?
Did she die naturally, or
she had cancer? Yeah, she actually had cancer, and it was complications of cancer. And this is back November 2020. So what, 6 months after Suzanne went missing, or well, we'll say was murdered. This lady coincidentally died. I would assume the relationship had probably already ended, but I thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah.
And predictable, though, too, because you can tell he's a womanizer. You can tell he's a disgusting human being.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Donna, you've heard directly from Cassidy, kind of, and you briefly touched on it earlier about, you know, some of the womanizing and some of the things, those 2 things that he's good at. One of those things he has a supreme problem with, and he knows it. If he's watching, he knows that he's got a problem with one of those things. And the other one is work. Yeah, you can get caught up in your work if you're trying to hide some of the other things you're doing or you've been trending on doing for a long time. That's very well, we all know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Cassidy told me at the beginning he was so shocked when it first happened, but he said within like 2 weeks he believed Barry did it. And so he decided to stick around and see if Barry would, well, he figured eventually Barry would slip. Mm-hmm. And then after the news came out with the bleach story, he said Barry became very erratic at that point and kind of went eye to eye to him and asked if he believed that he did it. Cassidy said, "Oh no, you know I'm on your side." And Barry just threw down his tool and said he was going hunting. Yes. So he goes and kills things to release his feelings. That's one thing about Barry.
Yes, that's what he does. Real quick, I wanted to say that Kellyanne, she gave a super chat. Thank you so much, Kellyanne Garber. She says, "Thank you for not giving up on Suzanne." And I think that's to you guys very much, because you all have done so much to, you know, bring justice. Hopefully one day we'll see justice for Suzanne. And I feel like you both have been so instrumental in that. It's awesome.
Hope so, yeah.
I hope so too. I hope so too, with all my heart.
We're not giving up, that's for sure. I mean, it's been a long, hard road, but this, you know, with everything going on the litigation side, it just drives it home to me that we've got to find her, you know, and that's
right.
That's been the bottom line since Jump Street. And I think, you know, some of this crowdsourcing really does work. I mean,
it does.
This is positive crowdsourcing. You go to some of these other cases I'm on, like the Summer Wells case, we've got issues over there. This is very respectful crowdsourcing at its finest right here. Respectful talk, you know.
Yes.
This worked very well. Like, that's what I told Lauren. She asked me to do a reading for Summer Wells. And I was like, with the chaos and the circus and the fighting I see, I don't even want to. And then I said, okay, I'll do it. And you can put it on your channel. I don't even want to be pulled into that big mess.
Oh, yeah, we'll chat about that. I got a chance to meet Don and Candace and go to the property and do a lot of work over there.
Oh, that's right.
Wow. I didn't know
things to say about that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have any information you want to share, or?
I'm working on it. I've got quite a bit of things going on. I got my hooks into that case, but I'm also letting the drama just do its thing, you know, just even out. But I've definitely got a really good path and itinerary with what I'm going to do next time I'm out there. And I've got a lot of approvals that a lot of people don't have to be in a lot of different areas. Just like this case. I mean, I've had to work my butt off to get, you know, access to a lot of these places that, I mean, I'm talking from the top of Monarch all the way down through Salida, outside of 285 through the mines. And then some of the stuff that I worked on in Evergreen around Trevor's other place, the other place in Denver. I've stayed in the, you know, the Holiday Inn there. I've worked that area more times than I can count. But it's just all checking boxes, and if we do it right, we're doing it.
And Gonzo, did you look up around the Garfield mine where he turned around allegedly?
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the very first places I went, and I think I used to stay at the Lorry cabin, and that's the Lorry Rock Yards. The Lorries, they run all the rock in that town. So if Barry got rock, he got it from the Lorries, or there's another rock, sand and gravel and rock provider in town. They're not really, they work with DSI, but not really. But Barry got most of his rock from the Lorry name, and those guys actually, Lorney Lowry and those guys have given us a lot of access to a lot of areas. And that's what put me in Garfield Mine several times. And that's what he did.
He purchased rocks from the people up there, so he is very, very familiar with that area.
And I always say it, it's people say needle in a haystack. Right. In Chaffee County, you're looking for a pebble in a rock pile.
Exactly.
Every single rock is this big.
So true.
I mean, and I've had, you know, hammers and picks and shovels in the ground at Barry's house, around it, up the mountain, downstream.
Yeah.
Swam the whole creek all the way up and down, looking in beaver dams. I mean, when people say, "Have you looked here?" Yes. Maybe all the right.
And everywhere.
You know, and we flew it with drones, and it's just crazy. It's surreal to see it all. And then you got to go back through that affidavit. You know, there's a timeline there. We got to find it.
I know. Soon enough, I'm going to release my little, you know, the read through that I've done so far. I've got actually 2 episodes now. I'm going to release maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. I'm not sure quite when. But real quick, let me also say thank you so much, IBme, for your super chat. So appreciated. Thank you, Spirit Seeker Squad. She says, shine bright for Suzanne. Thank you so much for this panel. Thank you for being here. And also, Aggie Y has been patiently waiting for her question to be answered. She says, why did the nephew not keep being a driving force? Isn't that $1 million question? Trevor Noel, where did he go?
So he made his $30,000 on this GoFundMe.
Absolutely.
Right. And then, you know, maybe he started wondering himself as well. Like maybe he had good intentions at the beginning, but maybe he started wondering as well, just like Cassidy did, and kind of backed out a little. And it sounds like Barry's what's real interesting is Barry's mother and what's the current case where the mother, the Laundrie, Brian Laundrie's mother, and Scott Peterson's mother, these mothers of these narcissistic personalities that they feel they have a right to murder their wives, and then what's with the mother here? And so I don't know how much she has control over Trevor Noel, but I mean, you'd kind of guess. I don't know psychically, but you know, maybe just like Cassidy at the beginning, he believed it, and then within a couple of weeks, he became very suspicious.
Yeah. And by the way, is this the same? So is Trevor Noel's mother the same sister of Barry's that used to take the fall for him? Do you guys happen to know that? Remember, he would get in a car accident or wreck the car, right? And then she would take the heat for it and get in trouble from the parents. Have you guys heard about that?
I did not hear that story
going on there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That doesn't create a very responsible person at the end of the day. And I don't know the logistics of how that works, but yes, I've heard that. Very interesting.
Right. He was never held accountable, obviously, and as a result, he had no shame in killing his wife. So
yeah, it was Barry's world. Barry's world, and if Suzanne thought she was going to leave and leave him with only several $100,000 and walk away, because a lot of the money they had was her inheritance money, right, from her family. So
true. So true.
The prosecution, if they're watching, if they have anyone watching, they need to really nail that down and be very clear about it.
They got to tighten up. I think that was a very humbling experience for them with the prelim. And I think that they've got to tighten it up 100% or they're going to lose it. And they did come in a little hot and heavy. They did have the media pressure, the community pressure to get to slap some charges.
Yeah.
But man, I really wish they would have dotted some I's and crossed a little bit more T's. And we're
disappointed.
Yeah.
And I was, usually in a prelim, they kind of have a ba-dum at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping beyond hope that they'd go, and by the way, on the spy pen, it just happened to be recording that final fight.
Oh, I know.
Like they must have something more than this.
Yeah. There's got to be something.
They didn't bring it all out, and they were just hoping they did. And that's what they want to do. They want to bring just enough to get it there.
Yes.
And then come out with the heavy guns later. And they barely got it there. So we got to just keep on keeping on with this. So.
And the fact that they let Barry out of jail bothers me only because of the one reading, which was done during the search, and with Cassidy, which was the strongest reading. I thought the strongest visuals I got was with Cassidy. But I saw Barry shoot Macy in the back of the head. And so, I just hope that does not happen. Like, for them to let Barry out is absolute ridiculous.
It is. It's so worrisome.
It's a little crazy because, with the parameters that he has to work with right now, and we know how the ankle bracelets work in and what radius he can travel, he's creeping a lot of people out over there. I've saw him a couple times since he's been out, and he doesn't really creep me out. He knows what I'm doing. He knows like I'm not crossing any lines anymore like I might have before, and that's because Shoshona really gave me the blueprint on what not to do, right? So thank you, Shoshona, if you're watching. But yeah, we're just, if we just want people to know that we're staying, we're doing all the due diligence, we're checking every box. We've got a bigger team behind the scenes that reach with another creator and help out. And it's like we've got a really good crowdsourcing network behind the scenes of just YouTube alone. And it's really working. I mean, I always say trust the process, and that's part of the process. And I believe Suzanne's swinging that hammer, and she wants truth followed by justice. And it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we got to find the body.
We do.
So Barry sees you around. He doesn't act threatening towards you at all?
Well, funny story, and I covered this on a video. I dropped like 30 of my Morphew case videos just because I'm so close. I'm there every week. So I can't just go show them where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. But I did put a lot of those videos on private. It doesn't make for good YouTube content, but it really helps on the case on the ground level. One of the last times I did interact with him, I just pointed up like, hey, I got a drone up there. Yes, we got an eye in the sky.
Yeah.
So don't shoot me now.
Be respectful, and nobody's got to see it, And he's like, he took his earphones out. He was in the Bobcat, like,
wow.
People are watching it. And that's all I wanted to put out there is people are watching. You don't know when you're on a recording, when you're being recorded, when you send somebody next door, you're going to find out the hard way. And, checking these boxes is all we can do to just make it happen. So, but yeah, it's crazy.
I agree.
You and Kurt have been foots on the ground for so much this whole time. And Kurt shared his files with me, which are hundreds. Massive amounts of research. And it was real sad to see that little person attacking him. and hopefully he comes back and feels good again. And you know, Naomi was running like maybe 14 researchers with Kurt, and the work they were doing was legitimate. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And Kurt was talking about having a crowdsourced intelligence nonprofit. I felt that he was very legitimate, and I don't know why Chris keeps attacking him. I think it's inappropriate and sad.
Well,
it's real sad. So hopefully that gets resolved, because I know you and Kurt have just been working daily, nonstop, trying to get answers on this case.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's a big team behind the scenes that is really working. And a lot of us, you know, if this entity's putting boots on the ground and really shoveling and pushing dirt and moving rocks, then this entity is really helping to try to reach out to these locals to get access so we can do that. And then we got the awareness platforms that are just out there doing what they can do. And it's like it all really works together. We understand creators get up, you know, creators attack creators, and there's ego trips involved, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got a missing woman, and I know I promised Andy personally myself that I would do everything in my power, you know, to help bring his sister home in the Moorman family. It's like if we all make these little agreements that we're going to do whatever we can, you know, we can put all these other things aside, you know.
Definitely.
Just using tools and the right nutrition in the right places. We're covering a lot of bases, and it's just great to know that you guys are still out there. You guys are still doing what you do, you know, in a totally spirit sister world that I can't understand. But I mean, that stuff really works too. And I've actually seen it firsthand. I've chased down a lot of things that people might call a rabbit hole, but I've come up with some good nutrition in this case and other cases from, you know, this is that crowdsourcing. And I think it's a good thing. So
it takes all people. And I think also people should, I've noticed in the true crime thing, there's a lot of people who've been affected by murder or other trauma. So like there's been murders in my family, a lot of other, and a lot of people have PTSD, a lot do. And say with Chris, probably seeing dead bodies all the time. And then, you know, Kurt, maybe he has PTSD. I know I have chronic PTSD. It's real common from people who are in the true crime community, because a lot of people have been affected by murders or deaths, and that's part of why they kind of got into it. So I think to try to give each other some love would be a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so true. I just want to say real quick, thank you so much, Barb Nauman, for your sweet super chat. It's so very appreciated. Thank you, IB so much. Thank you, Mom of 457 Rose. He says, wonderful panel. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you to your mods. Yes, thank you to my mods. I want to specifically say thank you so much to them right now for all that they've done for me this live, for us to be here without worry of the trolls and all the crazy that can come along with having a great panel of people. You know,
it's refreshing. It's refreshing. I've been on some really wild ones lately, and I'm like, whoa.
Like, what's wrong, people?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. I think a lot of people, they just get their PTSD gets triggered, and then they just sit there and, you know, it's hopefully it all resolves and people can return to a state of, like Gonzo said, the focus is on Suzanne, is on some Summer Wells, and just, you know, the other missing people. Do you know there's 90,000 people missing as of 2020?
Yeah.
90, and you know, I swear half of them are in my inbox, and it's like, I can't even read my emails. I'm so sorry. There's so many, but there's so many missing people. It's just mind blowing.
I know. I think people know that you have a specific ability, Donna, and it's as real. It's one of the realest things I've ever witnessed. What you did for JJ and PieLo, for Suzanne Morphew, for Summer Wells. I know in the end, these details are going to come out. It's a matter of time. Most of them, a lot of them already have, especially with
a lot of them.
Oh my God.
A lot of confirmation already in the prelim,
so much confirmation, and you're the real deal. And people know that, so they know that when they call on you to help, they're calling on the best. It's just how it is, in my opinion. Thank you so much, Open Minds, for your sweet super chat. I really appreciate it. EVP, where paranormal meets true crime, is her channel. Thank you so much. She says, keep up the amazing work, team. We appreciate all of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything here. I already have missed a lot. I'm sorry, everybody. It's hard to keep up with sometimes. There's a lot of comments. Yes, Donna is amazing. She truly, truly is. I agree. Well, I'm thinking we should go ahead and start wrapping it up. I hope I didn't forget anybody's super chats or anything. Oh, actually, hold on. I do have one thing to say, Donna, before we go. I was sent this picture by one of my mods, Hannibal, and I think she said you drew this. Is that right?
Somebody else drew that drawing of my drawing. So my drawings I sent you on your text this morning.
Yes.
Yep. That's not my drawing. That's somebody copied my drawing.
Okay. So
if you look on your text, or if somebody wants to look more, if they go on my channel in the community section and go down a bunch of things, they'll find it. If you could show it, that's my drawing. So somebody else did a better copy of what they think my drawing is. Right. So that's my drawing, but the rectangle across the top was only, I think the spirits put that first to show how I should draw it for them.
Okay. Makes sense. Well, I guess I shall go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say thank you so much for everybody being here. Thank you, Gonzo, Donna, Naomi. I think she's probably still in the chat. It's been a real pleasure to have you all here and just getting to talk with you, brainstorming, going over things. It's awesome. So thank you.
And I want to say thank you to all the nice things that people have said about me in the comments. And thank you, Lauren, for having me, and very nice communicating with you, Gonzo. I admire all your work, your and Kurt, and I admire all your hard work that you guys have put in.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Like I said, anytime you want to chat, I don't give a lot of info out. So when I do, it's to awesome people like you guys. So, and you guys have been great to us and great for this case. So I appreciate everything you're doing as well.
That's awesome. We need to do this again sometime and just
definitely
go over everything. It's new stuff, that we didn't cover here. So anyway, thanks again for everybody being here. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and take care. Bye.